This car has a parasitic drain on the battery, which is basically something that's causing the battery to die overnight. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing a little bit of testing to see if I can figure out a way to keep this car alive. This is my first time doing something like this, so I'm not exactly sure how it's going to turn out, but there's only one way to find out. Let's get to work. Right now I'm just sitting in the car seeing what works and what doesn't work. I already know that the radio doesn't work, so I'm just testing things like the door locks and the Onstar and everything that I possibly can in here to see if there's anything else that doesn't work, to see if it might be tied into the issue as well. It's later, and I think I found another thing. The Onstar stuff doesn't do anything, so I have the radio and I have the Onstar. And then additionally, whenever I click the trunk button, nothing. But I can hear a relay in there clicking. I think that's about it. I have pressed all of the buttons and went over all of the things, and we have radio, OnStar, and trunk issues at the moment. I'm not exactly sure what that information means at the moment, if those are tied onto the same circuit or whatever, but we have information. So I'm going to do an old school parasitic draw test by hooking up a multimeter to the battery and then just pulling fuses one by one and seeing if the reading on the multimeter drops. Basically, when I hook up the multimeter, it should show me if there's a draw, and then as I start pulling the fuses out, that number should drop down, and whatever fuse I pulled should correspond to the thing that is up with the car causing the drain. At this point, I would think it would have something to do with the radio, OnStar, or trunk, but I can't be 100% sure yet until I do a little more testing. So I have a basic multimeter with the red probe hooked into the DC 10 amp spot, and I have the dial also turned to the DC 10 amp spot as well. I got the negative terminal off the battery, and what I'm going to do now is hook this positive probe onto the battery cable. And then the negative probe goes on the negative terminal. You could probably just set it here like that and be okay. But I'm just gonna clip it on. And right now I'm getting a huge reading on the multimeter because the car's systems haven't fully shut down, and because the hood is open, and it's probably picking up the fact that the hood is open and that sensor has not shut down yet. So if I want to have the hood open and the doors open for this test, I have to trick the car into thinking that the hood and the doors are closed. So I'm just getting a pair of pliers so I can push this hood latch closed. Got it. Same thing with the door latches. I'm just shutting those down. So now whatever sensor in there thinks that this door is shut. Now the hood and the doors are shut, I'm basically just gonna let this sit for about 30 minutes and let everything shut down, all of the electrical systems and sensors and modules and things, get it all shut down so I can get a baseline reading of where I'm at here. It's been a half hour now, and it's been sitting at between 0.39 something and 0.4 pretty much the whole time. And it's supposed to be 0.01 to 0.05. So we definitely know there's a pretty large parasitic draw going on there. So at this point, I guess it's time to just start pulling fuses. I did a little research while I was waiting for the 30 minutes to go by, and apparently it's pretty common for this car to have OnStar issue that causes the radio issue and causes a draw. And if that is the case, then all you have to do is unplug the OnStar fuse and you're done. Wouldn't that be awesome? So since I read that, the first fuse I'm going to pull is the OnStar fuse and see if that causes the go from 0.397 to 0.4 down to 0.05 or less. I think the OnStar fuse is inside the car, which is why it was important to make sure the car thinks that this door is shut, because I'm going to be getting in and out of here maybe multiple times, hopefully just once. That right there says OnStar. So there it is right there. Give that a yank. Check it while I got it out. It's not blown, so that's a thing. Now let's go check the meter and see what it says. Well, we got no change on the meter yet. Bummer. Lame. I'm gonna give it just a few minutes to see if maybe that takes a little bit for that change to kick in, but I don't think that's gonna be it. Well, poop. I gave it 5+ minutes and nothing's changed. I was really hoping it would be that OnStar thing, because that would just be so simple, but it's not. Oh well. So next, I think I'm going to move on to the radio one and then the trunk one. And from there, if it's neither one of those, then I'm just going to start randomly pulling. So the radio one is right there. Yoink. Come on. Didn't do anything either. Oh. Also, plot twist. This fuse is blown. What do I do now? Do I replace the fuse? I mean, taking it out didn't affect the reading, so it can't be the draw, right? But if the fuse is blown, what I'm gonna do, and maybe it's wrong, and I'll research later and figure out the right way, but for right now, I'm gonna leave that fuse out. I'm gonna pull the trunk fuse and see if that changes the drain. Huh. Look at that. It's blown too. And it still hasn't changed the meter. What? Trunk fuse blown. Radio fuse blown. Parasitic draw still happening with both of those fuses out. Part of me wants to just put new fuses in and see what happens. And part of me wants to do the appropriate research to make sure that's not a horrible decision. Man. Even though I don't think it's going to matter, I'm just going to go ahead and replace the blown fuses before I do anything else and see what happens. I took the multimeter off and got the battery hooked up. I just want to see if now, if I start the car, if the radio works and the trunk pops, just to know. I don't think putting the new fuses in fixed anything because there's still a draw going on, so there's still an issue. But I just want to see if the fuses are going to immediately pop again, or if maybe that is a separate thing. I don't know. I just want to find out, so let's go. Radio is currently working, and the trunk, nope. Trunk is still clicking. I wonder if there's an issue with the trunk latch mechanism or wiring that had a situation that caused the radio fuse to blow. If they're on the same circuit, I'll have to look that up. I'm gonna see if trying to pop the trunk just blew the fuse or if it's not popping. I'm gonna have to manually pop it. Trunk fuse is blown. So I think what I'm gonna do now is pop the trunk and get back in there and look around at some of those wires and see if I can see anything weird. The bad news is there's no way to pop the trunk without crawling into the trunk through the back seat and stuff. So that's what I'm gonna do now. I have a couple things in here. I'm the kind of guy that gets a loaner tool and then keeps it forever. Dude, that trunk latch, of course, is in like the furthest possible location to where I have to go all the way to the back to get after it. My son is almost, but not quite, old enough to handle this task. Almost. I cannot wait for the day where I can send him in on some of these jobs. Ugh. Oh, interesting. This panel is already pretty loose. Like somebody has been in here doing stuff, maybe. Let's see what we got going on. There's some electrical things and some wires. There's some electrical things and wires. And here's some wires and more wire. So, I'm just gonna peruse what we got going on here. Just kind of check over these wires real quick and see if I find something out of the ordinary. Well, I've done some serious wire inspecting and I haven't found anything that is standing out as like damaged or touching metal or anything in there. And honestly, all the wiring looks to be in pretty good shape. So the next thing I'm going to do is unplug the wiring that goes into the latch. And then once I get that unplugged, I'm going to put another fuse in there, click it, and then see if that fuse blows. If the fuse doesn't blow, then there's something wrong with the wiring, like a short inside the wiring or plug or whatever in the latch. If the fuse does blow, it's not the latch, at least. I guess it'd be real cool too if I pulled this plug and the number went down on the multimeter and this was the parasitic draw. I don't want to get my hopes up too much though. How do you get that plug out of there? I can't see it right. Ugh, that's not gonna work. Get out of here. I'm trying to do a video. Jeez. Anyway, I got picks and small screwdrivers now. Try that again. I can't see for two reasons. Number one, it's all up in there. And number two, the sun is blasting me in my eyeballs, making it extra complicated. I don't understand. Okay. I got it. Slightly broken, but I got it. Well, I unplugged the plug and there's no change on the multimeter. Poop. Okay. Trunk thing unhooked. I'm just gonna turn the car on. Click the trunk button. I could literally hear the fuse pop. Yep, she popped. Man. Unplug the wires that go to the latch and the wire that goes up to this taillight up here, just because it's connected. And I took all of the wires out of the wire looms and the tape and whatnot and inspected them, and there's no like exposed wire or any wires touching. I took it all the way back to there. I don't see any issues. I unplugged this XM thing just to see. I unplugged the amp up in there just to see. And then when I got in the car and turned on the radio, I realized that the radio was working, but no sound was coming out. So that's what got me on to the amp in the first place. And I pulled the wires on it, checked it, and nothing happened as far as the draw. But the fuse for the amp is dead also. And the radio, the trunk, the amp, are all on the same circuit. So everything that I'm reading is saying that there is a wiring issue somewhere in there, but I'm still not 100% sure yet. I'm pretty confused. I'm confused right now. I don't know what to do or what the next step is. I'm gonna need a minute to think, okay? I don't know what I'm doing, okay? Figure it out probably. Okay, I was about to put everything away and do more research and think, and then I concluded that I haven't even pulled all the rest of the fuses out yet. So that's the whole point. Pull fuses until you find the freaking parasitic draw. And I just got on a tangent down a rabbit hole thinking that I know stuff about electrical work, and I don't. So I'm gonna get back to where I started and start pulling fuses. All right, we're all set up. I'm looking at this thing just to kind of, pull ones that might make sense, but I'm going to pull them all if I have to. I realize now, looking at this, that there is an additional Onstar fuse right here. Ha! Look at that. It's still not exactly where it should be yet. It should be 0.005 or less. But, yeah. Okay. Maybe we're on to something now. Maybe that's the fuse I should have pulled in the first place. So the multimeter is running about 0.008 to 0.009, which is a little bit higher than it should be, but way better. So what I have now done is I kept the OnStar fuse out. I put in a new trunk fuse and a new amp fuse. I'm gonna turn the car on. I'm gonna try to pop the trunk, see if it blows, and I'm gonna turn on the speakers and see if they work. Speakers work. Now let's see if the trunk popper pops a fuse or not. Yep, sure did. Sure did. I wonder if that made the speakers go away. No. Okay, progress, but the trunk fuse is still popping. I have radio, I have amp, I have less of a parasitic draw, but still don't have this fully figured out. I think we're on our way. Okay, now I have unplugged the OnStar module completely. It's not even hooked up to the wires. So now I'm gonna hit the trunk again and see if it blows that fuse. Yes, it blew it again. Man! Starting to really go through some fuses at this point. Well, at this point, my brain is more fried than the wiring in the car, and I have forgotten what I have done and what I have said to the camera. It's all just mishmashed up in my brain at the moment. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is stop working on the car for like the rest of the day and see. Hey, it's my dog. Hi, dog. Hi, dog. Yeah. Anyway, I'm confused and need some time to think. It's 5 days later, and I've done quite a bit of research. In recap, here's where we're at. The OnStar, disabled, no longer works, was a parasitic draw on the battery. It should be 0.05, but it's 0.08 to 0.09. And the trunk button keeps blowing fuses no matter what I do. And I've done a couple things that didn't lead to anywhere, long story short. So here's where I'm at. It's been 5 days that this car has been sitting. Haven't started it or anything. If the drain of 0.08 to 0.09 is enough to kill this car in 5 days, I'm going to keep digging into it. If the car starts, we're good. As far as the OnStar, it's gone. I'm not even going to mess with it. It's just not going to be a functioning thing in this car anymore. And as far as the trunk, I could do a lot of digging, testing, and going down a rabbit hole trying to figure out the trunk situation, or I could just put in a new relay and a little clicker switch and make the trunk work on a remote instead of the button, and we're good to go with the trunk. But that all depends on if the car is even going to start or not. So I'm going to fire it up right now, hopefully, and if it starts, I'm moving on past the parasitic draw and just trying to run some new wires to a new trunk switch, and I think we should be good at that point. So let's see. Come on, Impala. Bam. Bam. 5 days of sitting, fired right up. I think we're good there. Let's test out the speakers and the radio. All right, we're good there. And like I said earlier, this trunk situation can go deep. Way deeper than A, my skill level, and B, the amount of time I want to invest on a trunk popping situation on a car I'm gonna flip. There comes a point to where you spend enough time working on the flip that time is money and you end up losing out because you spend so much time on the car. So I do not want to dig any deeper into the trunk popping situation. Instead, I'm gonna run some new wires. I got this fuse tap, I got this relay, and I got me a fresh roll of wire. And I'm gonna take this fuse tap and I'm gonna tap into a fuse with 12 volt power. From there, I'm gonna run a wire all the way to the trunk and run that to this here relay. Cut the 2 wires in the trunk popper latch plug that make it pop and run those to the relay. And if that works as planned, should just be able to click this button and pop the trunk. So I got my 2 fuses in my fuse tap, and I'm ready to plug that into the retained accessory power slot in the fuse panel. Actually ended up using the auxiliary fuse because that other fuse was buried in there and there's no way I could get the fuse tap in there. So I think we're good. I got the original 25 in the bottom. I got a 10 in the top. Got the wire coming out now, and I just need to run a wire from here to the trunk. Throw that in there. Get it in position. Give it a quick crimpage. And we're good there. Before I run this wire correctly and go tucking it into all the places and getting it looking good, I'm just gonna toss it back there in the trunk and just connect this end to it and make sure this works before I end up doing anything else. So yeah. So now I got my relay, I got the other end of my wire, and I'm hooking this wire up to the DC input plus section of the relay to give it power. And now we should have power. And now I'm cutting the power wires at the plug that goes into the latch, which I am 90% sure is this orange and black one and this black one next to it. And now I need to connect these 2 wires into the relay. So I got my power wire hooked up. I got a ground connected. For now, I'm just going to connect the ground to right here just to make sure my situation works before I get everything wired up the right way. And now I need to connect my 2 wires from the plug into the relay, and I should be good. Okay, quick recap. I got this wire running to the fuse box, which is on a fuse tap to the auxiliary fuse. This is running here to a temporary ground, and these are the wires that are in the plug. So if this whole situation works the way it's supposed to, I should just be able to click this button and that trunk latch should pop. At this point, I would say the chances are probably pretty low just because, but let's give it a shot. Oh, wait. Oh, man. I got, I gotta plug the plug in to the latch. Okay, all that stuff I just said before, except for this time with the plug actually plugged in. Here we go. It went tick tick and then nothing. Lame. What happened? I blew the 10 amp fuse on the fuse tap. Something's not right. So I took the plug wire that I had running to the output minus and I connected another wire to it and ran it down to the ground now. And I'm gonna see if that configuration makes a difference. Here we go. Nothing. Okay, I did a whole new wiring setup that's different than everything I was talking about before. I don't know if it's right or wrong. Probably wrong. Yeah. If it works, we'll talk about it. If not, we're moving on. Here we go. Nope. It's not blowing fuses though. The relay is just clicking and nothing's happening. So I guess that's a better sign. I guess. Wires in different places. Rerouted some way. I don't know. But I'm going to hit the button and it's going to work this time. Probably. Did you see that? It worked. It freaking worked. Yes, 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 yes. Had to come in the garage because the neighbor's thinking I'm really weird right now. Yes. I don't know what I did. I have no idea. I just kept asking Google what I should do and it kept spitting out crap. And then eventually got it right. And the latch works. I'm gonna take a minute and think about what I've just done. Because really, I gotta review before I can explain, because I don't even know. Well, when it's all said and done, I made one mistake on the trunk. Let me show you real quick. I'll just pop this trunk for you. I tried multiple different configurations of wiring with this relay, but the simple problem was that that orange wire that I thought was the power is actually not. It's the tan white wire. So as soon as I ended up just putting the tan white wire while I had the orange wire, everything was fine. So everything's working now except for the Onstar, but I have a mess to clean up in here. And I have a mess to clean up down there. So I still got a little bit of work ahead of me. That'll do it for this week though. I'll get all that wiring routed correctly and buttoned up off camera, and I'll show you how it all turns out when I do the final video of this Impala series on the detail and the final sale coming up soon. I know I made a lot of mistakes in the process, and I'm pretty sure I said some stupid stuff, and I have serious doubt that this video was educational at all. But the good news is the car is running good and everything right now is working except for the OnStar, so that is good in my books. Once I have it all together and cleaned up, I'll probably drive it for a couple weeks just to make sure there's no issues, just to make sure no more of those fuses continue to pop or there's anything that I don't know about that I'm gonna pass on to the next buyer, just to make sure. But at this moment, I'm pretty happy. Next video is gonna be my birthday. I'm gonna be 44 years old. So I'm not sure what kind of video I wanna do. Part of me wants to get back into the engine bay of the C3 Corvette, and part of me just wants to kind of do a little tinkering on all the cars. A little fixing here, a little cleaning there, go to a couple car shows, and just kind of bring you guys along for the whole entire weekend of birthday car fun. So I'm not exactly sure what I got in store for you next week, but it's gonna be a good time either way. I'll see you then.